Podcast. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Small, host of Outdoor Wisconsin, and I listen to Where to Hunt.
Nah, it's okay.
I'm Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bow Hunter. I listen to Where to Hunt podcast, and it's decent.
It's all right.
Hey, this is Bud Fisher with Catching Deers, and I think the Where to Hunt podcast is all right.
Hey, what up, everybody? This is Eric, and Greg's on the line with us today. He's out of studio, but he's here with us in spirit.
Here in spirit and in voice.
Hey, you're listening to the Where to Hunt podcast, the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts, aka the okayest podcast in the Midwest. Head on over to okayesthunter.com. We're coming at you from the Okayest Hunter podcast studio. And if you find some swag or gear, hats or stickers or decals or whatever they got going on over there that you like, and if you think it's okay, you can use code Where to Hunt podcast or it's actually W2H podcast, for 10% off. And here at the Where to Hunt podcast, we also are only okay at everything that we do. Literally, we can't even get an ad right. By we, I mean me. Greg's known to F1 up.
Them up too.
Yes, between the two of us, we make a whole. That's why we have each other. We really balance each other out well here. Let's get the sponsor things out of the way, and then let's you and I catch up real quick on what the hell we're doing. How about that?
All right. Perfect.
Sad that you're not here to push my buttons.
Take a look at your feet. Are you wearing Gumleaf USA boots? If you said no, you gotta reevaluate some things. Each pair is handmade and tested to take over 1 million flexes. These boots will take just about anything you can throw at them. Use promo code W2H2020 for 10% off your final purchase at gumleafusa.com. Wake up and smell the coffee. Backwoods grind coffee, that is. Now, this ain't your fancy schmancy city boy coffee. This is what your grandpappy used to drink. And lucky enough for you loaf-around slack asses, they got a subscription service. Deliver any of their 6 blends right to your door, even a sampler. I like the Fireside blend, nice and dark. But they got something to suit every one of your tastes, light to dark and everything in between. Backwoods grind coffee for those who work hard and play harder.
Now, I still don't have like a bumper for the discount code. So if you like that ad and it really got your mouth watering for some good coffee, go to backwoodsgrind.com and enter in code W2H podcast for 10% off. You guessed it, 10%. It's like the Oprah Winfrey show. You get 10%, you get 10%, you get 10%. I've had too much coffee, Greg.
Everybody gets 10%.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Do you want to do the Vector Custom Shop? I'll give you some music.
Sure. I don't. If I don't want to, it doesn't matter. I still have to. Right?
Yeah, you do better than me. Here we go.
Here we go. That was setting the bar kind of high. So if you're looking for a custom built to your spec type of arrow, look no further than VectorCustomShop.com. You can pretty much kind of pick a spine that you want and order a 2-pack of them, give them a test flight, see how they fly for you. And when you're done making your choice of what weight you want and what spine, you can order a half dozen or a full dozen. And when you go to checkout at VectorCustomShop.com, use code WHERE2HUNT, and it'll save you 10%.
You did it, man.
All I got, and it wasn't good. Yeah, but it wasn't pretty.
It's okay. It's not pretty when those things kill an animal, man. They do the job. It is not pretty. It's pretty, but you know what I mean? Like
they do it.
There's some collateral damage for sure. So
that's right.
There's that. I'm supposed to give you some shit coming from Byron. You really effed up my hunt last week, but it kind of balances up because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't really have a hunt. So it's kind of like Greg giveth, Greg taketh.
Yeah, I kind of screwed that up for both of us, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just giving you shit, man. Of course, it was a hard terrain.
No, it's good.
But we got in there all thick,
Yeah,
like
it was.
you know.
Yeah, we're about as subtle as a bulldozer in a china shop. So
You got to sound like a buck, you know. You got to have that big buck mentality.
right.
Right. Yeah, like we know what the hell we're talking about. I tell you what, though, our guest
We know.
does. On the line with us tonight is Cody D'Acquisto with Lone Wolf Custom Gear, and he just got it done with a beautiful looking tank of a buck. Cody, what's up? We just unmuted you. You should be here with us. Nope, I didn't unmute him. Oh my God. Here we go. All right, Cody, my bad. You're
That poor
officially
guy's
unmuted.
talking to himself.
I didn't know if that was a test. How's it going, guys?
Here
Good,
at
Cody.
Stereotype Hunting
Keep me on
Podcast,
my
we
toes.
fuck with our guests.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the show, man. This is a place where, you know, we set the bar pretty low, so there's no need to impress, that's for sure.
No, it's good to be on, man. It's good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We met at the Madison Deer and Turkey Expo like 2-ish years ago or something, like for 2 seconds. And then we crossed paths a couple times at some different events and things like that, and stayed in touch on Instagram and text, and here we are, you know. Look at that.
Yeah. It a lot of times it takes the perfect storm, man, to wrangle it all in and get sit down. But I'm glad I finally got on with you, and looking forward to shooting you a little bit about some whitetails.
Rock on. Well, let's start by I think most folks know about you or who you are or something like that. Maybe just take a second and tell us what you do for Lone Wolf Custom Gear, how you kind of got into that, like what your role is, and a little bit more about you too. Anything else that's interesting? Like, I think it's really interesting that you wear flannels when you hunt. I love that. So that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just a dude passionate about whitetail hunting, man. That's when it comes down to it, that's what I am. That's what I've always been. It's just, man, it's the best thing out there, man. There's nothing better. And all the guys who hunt, all the bow hunters, you know what I'm talking about, the highs, the lows. It's just crazy, man. But I do design, development work, sales, marketing. I wear a lot of different hats in the custom gear company. Lone Wolf is a family brand. It always has been since 1984 when it was started by my old man, right in the garage in the backyard. So it's cool to take that now after so many years of his original designs, coming out with something completely new and innovative, and just flipping the tree stand market on its face a little bit. So it's cool, but the idea behind the brand and the products is, it's just, you know, they're products that are truly designed to get the job done in the fashion in which, like, we hunt, which is extremely aggressive and extremely mobile. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it.
It's a good nutshell, man. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there. if you've been following along, and like, look, man, I think a lot of people could benefit from your product without even going into all the details yet. But, you know, I joke and I say, Greg knows the model of my tree stand. So does my dad. My dad gave it to me, and now Greg gave me one to use. And I think it's an older Lone Wolf, right, Greg? The Alpha something?
Correct. It's an alpha.
Yeah. I'm not an alpha person, right? But I have this older one. It's like the Cadillac. It's like this giant square brick on your back.
Dude, it's not a Cadillac. It's a Yugo.
It's like, what is it? What's the model, Greg? I'm so not technical. I don't know anything.
Yugo. They come from Ukraine, made out of recycled chewing gum wrappers.
Oh my God. You son of a gun.
I'm going to keep ripping on you for that thing.
You know, but it gets the job done. You gotta
API.
Yeah, that's what it is, an API from, like, you know, 19 fucking circa 50.
Oh, yeah.
But dude, like it's you just kind of appreciate all the technology after using something like that. It's heavy, it's loud, it's clunky, it's not easy to set up. Like there's not much good about it other than when you get it set up and you're on it, it's big. You're like, wow, you could like, there's a lot of room for activities.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing if you're looking to do other activities other than hunt up there in the tree. But the concept always behind, Lone Wolf from back in the day, and then even the custom gear now is just, I mean, like getting the job done, man. The most efficient, effective system you can have, and now we've truly, I think, they've always been great products. But what I describe the products now as they are a great system. So even with how great the climbing sticks were, with how great the tree stand was, with how just, I guess, truly amazing it was in its simplistic design, it wasn't quite a system. I mean, it worked as a system, but it wasn't a very efficient system, and now it is. Now the stand integrates directly with the sticks. It carries your gear. It's truly a system, and just the low profile, the lightweight. It's for somebody who is packing in deep or moving a lot. I mean, you could be hunting. Don't get me wrong. You could be hunting 5-10 acres, and this thing could be your jam. But it is also very good for those guys who, the stand never leaves their back. It comes down with them every day, and they're hiking way deep into public access grounds and stuff like that. So it's just a good system.
I mean, that's, I'm surprised that it took this long for someone, and the fact that you guys did it, to come up with a system. I mean, Greg, you have a system approach in how you do things and how you pack stuff up, but it's not an integrated system. It wasn't designed to all work together. You had to DIY the shit out of it, and you've done a good job. But when it's built with the end in mind and the system is all integrated, it's totally different. And Greg managed to get out of the tree, out of the swamp, to a certain spot, dropped his gear, came back in, found me, all before I had my stand on my back. And the longest thing, where I spent the most time, was stacking my effing sticks. I shit you not. This isn't even like a joke. I'm like, which way does it go? Does it go this way? Does it go that way? And I'm getting like, like frustrated, but I'm like, you know what? This is it. This is just this is how it goes for me. Like, I'm a total goof out there. And I figured it out. And Greg's like, hey, I'm this way. I'm like, yeah, dude, I haven't moved yet. Like, don't worry. I know exactly where I am. I'm not lost. I haven't moved. This is still the same tree I freaking set up in 5 hours ago. So I could see how this could make a difference.
Man, we might have to upgrade you here pretty soon.
You don't know how bad I have it, because I'm pretty, like, my mom's maiden last name is ending in Owski. So like, I really am Polish. I make everything really difficult.
Dude, it's funny because, coming from somebody on the completely opposite end of the spectrum. So like me, everything I've ever known has been Lone Wolf, right? So, I mean, you can bet that I haven't experienced the worst of the worst as far as the, I guess the bad stands, heavy stands, just difficult stands out there. But in a sense, so my platform and my scale for development and like to make something better was the best. So it's like, I'm grateful for that, because I'm sitting here and I'm modding and I'm tweaking a stand that is already great that most people don't even think about, because they're like, oh man, this is the best stand out there. Well, it's all I ever knew. And through the course of hunting years and years and years, and just, developing my own specific style and where I like to hunt and how I like to go about things and scout, and I'm a very weird, like, kind of OCD-ish type person with almost, like a systematic approach to a lot of things, and like I'm a routine individual. So like those little idiosyncrasies kind of grabbed hold and informed some of these ideas and that for the actual system. And it's funny because, I've said it a few times, but a lot of people who knew me, like even years ago before we launched Custom Gears, would always see what I was hunting with, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's my rig, that's my stand." And they're like, "What is it?" And it was like this this, and actually Byron, I think, dubbed it like the coolest. He was like, "Oh, it's a Frankenstand," and it was just like this old original platform from the '90s that Dad did, and it was a modified XOP I-beam, and it was like this custom seat that I made, and it was sticks that did something freaking crazy, like, you know, sort of like what we have now. But and the intention was to always, like, I never even intended to bring it to the market at first. It was just like my rig. It was my setup. It's how I liked it. And I had thought about it, but this was years ago too, when I didn't think the tree stand was ready for anything, you know, price point orientated, because we all know how the, you know, majority of our tree stand demographic, you know, customer is not going to pay premium price for a tree stand. I mean, Lone Wolf has always been a niche market. It's always been, you know, appealing to those guys who were very, very serious about the sport, who were just engulfed in it, and who needed, you know, needed better gear and wouldn't satisfy with the, or wouldn't put up with the other stuff. But going back to where I started, I was hunting a lease a few years back, and, man, you know, I didn't have my setup. I left it in the tree, and I needed to move, and I was like, you know what, or I needed to hang a stand for the next day, or it was something like that. And my buddy's like, oh, I got some sticks. I got some sticks in a stand over at the house. Like, or, you know, you can go grab them. And I'm like, oh, sweet. And I'm just thinking they're a Lone Wolf stand and sticks. Like, I just, in my mind, I'm like, oh, of course they got to be. And well, I get there, and man, I don't know what they were. But I will tell you this, it was the worst experience of my life. I was walking, I was literally walking through cattails, and these freaking sticks were like pinging, like the cattails are hitting them, and they're just like pinging, and I got straps hanging, and they're clanging against each other, and they're these big hoop designs, and I'm just like, fuck this, you know. And I didn't even mess. I turned around and went back. I didn't even put it up in the tree. So that's
how I feel
the extent I've gotten
on most of my hunts. Like, dude,
yeah.
I mean, like, I actually didn't have a tree stand for like the last 6 years or something, or 5 years, because like I was like, F it, dude. Like, I'll kill him on the ground. Like, I don't need this thing on my back. This is ridiculous. And Greg comes along. He's like, no, man, you got it. My dad too. My dad's like, he always hunts out of a stand, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it again. And now here I am, and that's how I started, and I loved it, and I missed it. But it was even worse back then. I had these single L hooks that you strapped onto a tree with like a slip knot for every rung. So I had this big little like military backpack, and it had all these things in there, and I would put one boot in and then do the other one boot and do the other one boot. Like, dude, it was a real struggle bus, especially when it was like negative 15 degrees and the rope was like stuck together.
Oh yeah.
So like, there's a reason I'm the okayest hunter, man.
The struggle's real, man.
Uh-huh.
And then come along the climbing sticks. I was like, my dad got me the Lone Wolf climbing sticks. I still have them. And I'm like, wait, so you strap one of these to a tree and you get 3 steps out of it? I was like, my mind literally was blown. I was like, wait, I don't have to do like 3 steps for 3 steps? Crazy. And so here we are today, right? And I'm like drooling over your technology, actually.
Yeah, it came along, man. I mean, you know, everything's came a long way, I think, since back then. But if you look at the original designs, they really were ahead of their time. It was just, it's kind of weird to look back at and see that sort of technology in an industry or market that was like so barbaric. Like it really was. I mean, with plywood and just huge, heavy steel welded, graded stands and stuff, and chained, and then to see something like, you know, just out of this, you know, crazy casted material that's ultra lightweight, and these, you know, these nylon cam straps, and it's just, and then like the invention of the first invention of the climbing stick. Like, you know, there wasn't a climbing stick before Lone Wolf came out with, I think it was like and back then it was a longer one. It was like, I think Dad's first model in the 90s was like I don't know, maybe like a 36-inch stick or something. And it was just, and it was a little bit more barbaric at that point in time, but just the concept of like, oh man, here's like this almost like section of ladder that you just strap to a tree, and you can like, you know, go to a different trunk of a tree. You can like put it on something crooked. It was just crazy to see that evolve into, you know, what we
now
have
you
now.
have the cableator, right? Like that, look at what that's done. I was like, whoa, my mind's blown again. Like, shut the F up, because that first step is always the hardest. But no, wait, here's something. But it's like you guys are like, but wait, there's more. every step of the way.
Yeah, and it's in a lot of this stuff too. It's like, it's almost even like the camera arm. It's something that's been there, but nothing's been done with it. Like, I mean, I remember talking, so many people are like, man, how long have you been working on this camera arm? Or like, man, well, like, where did this come from? And I take out my phone, I show them pictures of like, so I remember Dad and I, so back in like 2005, Dad, he released and I remember I used to build a bunch of those. I used to work, me and my buddies all actually worked at the assembly warehouse. And in 2005, we started selling a camera arm, and it was the strong arm. And that was like right when people started, like when self-filming became a thing for hunting. People were using big GL2s, and like it was just it was coming on the scene. So it was a camera arm that was released, and it was awesome, man. It was, I mean, for what was out there, it was lightweight, whatever. Nobody was doing anything. There was no camera arm companies really. I mean, as far as like, marketing for the self-filmer, there was big, heavy, gaudy things. But so anyway, well, like literally probably a year or two after that, Dad and I, one night we chopped our arms up, and like we both started messing around with, with this idea of like a stud contact point, and like essentially we're cutting in on an old strong arm, and then I did some advancements to mine where it actually twisted back and folded in itself, and now so look at that. So 2007, since 2007 we've been running those arms, and they were ultra light, ultra low profile, like, and it's pretty much what you see now, except not the fancy cutouts, and it was just with tubing and with one casting at the base. So it's like, even if something like that we would have, taken to market that many years ago, it could have just been way ahead of its time as well. And it's the same thing like with even the 8ers, and it's most of the time the simplest designs that are the best. And that goes across the board, I think, with everything that's not, so many people overcomplicate things, and I think that's a big problem with, I guess, just innovation in general.
Yeah, man, I would have to agree with that. I went through a startup incubator earlier this year before shit hit the fan with everything. And there's a lot of how they tried to teach us through some of our product design for like some of the things everyone was coming to the table to trying to go to market with. And then even like on the presentation side, it's like simplify. Don't over explain it. You don't need to. You just got to do enough to get everyone's attention. And we looked at a lot of good examples of what that could look like. And you definitely are, fitting that profile of something that's really simple. It makes sense. It definitely fits the need and meets people where they are, man. It's like you said, you really have the end user in mind here for sure.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. I think that not a lot of people, like, there's, when you look at the game, I guess, if you want to call it that, so many of the higher ups, I mean, there's not a whole lot of hunters at the helm of these companies. Like, I mean, it's kind of sad to say, but like, and not that people don't hunt, but like, when I'm just.
No, dude, there's not a lot of venture capital. There's not a lot of people that have deep pockets that give companies money. That there's very, very few, if any. Like, sorry, I don't hunt. Like, sorry, I don't hunt. Sorry, I don't hunt. Oh, I do hiking, but I don't hunt. And trying to find that someone that understands it. It's tough.
It's one of those things where you got a company that may not, when you're trying to design something. It'd be like calling me and like, hey, Cody, I need you to design a golf club. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, okay.
Right. That's a good point, actually.
I'll try my best. But like, it's like, I'm not golfing every day, so, it's one of those things where, you can see product design from people who actually use their products and who design them for other people who are going to use them exactly how they're intended. Yep. And that's always been the process. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's like, these designs and these ideas started out just to be used, like just.
That's product-led growth, man. That's like you could do marketing, and that's gas on the fire, so to speak. But you've already got the fire started, and it's already blazing, man. It'll continue to feed itself. Product-led growth is not easy to achieve. Very few have done it. I was just talking to Vector Custom Shop about this, man. They've got product-led growth. Like, they've created such a good product that people want it. Period. They can do no marketing and be word of mouth, and they would be fine. Of course, if they want to continue to expand and reach new people, they can do some marketing on top of that, and it's a better outcome. But, you could have a piece of shit and you could try to spray paint it all pretty gold and market the hell out of it. But at the end of the day, if it sucks, it sucks. The market will tell you.
Yeah. It's different. It's definitely a different way to look at things. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention.
I love that.
Right, and we're also in a point where guys want better gear, but be it the heavy arrows. Heavy arrows are a big thing all of a sudden again. So that's where Vector's doing so well. We can't definitely take credit for my awesome advertising skills, but being a mobile hunter, everybody's looking to try and get lighter weight, more functionality or the same amount of functionality, lighter weight. So, and if they're willing to pay the price for it, it's there, it's available. And you're always doing little tweaks here and there. I've noticed it from even when you first came out with the 1.0, and now you've done a few upgrades to the 1.0, and now you're doing it. You're working with the 0.5. It's all relative.
Oh yeah, yep. And I mean, it's just never want to just be. It's important to keep moving. I mean, if you can innovate, if you can upgrade something, make it a little bit better, do it.
No, it's the right mentality. Well, let's dude, can we talk about the buck that you got? People are asking about in the comments. Yeah. Public land, what state? You don't got to give us all the details about the where, but certainly paint the picture, man. Set the scene for us.
So this is a farm out of state in Illinois that I've hunted for quite some time. I have not stepped foot on that farm since last year, November, I believe. I don't typically, like the properties that I hunt, you will not see me there ever if I'm not hunting. Like, I just won't be there. I don't do food plots. I don't really run cameras. I don't spend any time there. I let the deer be. And that's kind of my mentality. Even at my home farm, like, I'm right on there, and I don't know. It's just it's the way I've always done things. So, but I am familiar with the ground, from hunting it in the past. I got a general idea of, what deer do, how they move a little bit. But as I've stated, kind of like tips and stuff that I try and post, I really try and throw all that out the window and approach every piece as it's a new piece. And if I go, so I hunt that piece literally like I would hunt a piece of public in Alabama if I went there. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It's all going to be the same kind of, I guess, strategy.
So you're
that's pretty cool.
Go ahead, Greg. You beat me to it.
I was just going to say, it's pretty cool because now you're not obsessing over one particular buck. You're going there, and if it gets your heart pumping and you see this animal for the first time ever, or maybe the second time because, he skirted you the day before, but now you go, yep, okay, I got your number. I'm going to move over there. But it's great, the fact that you're seeing this critter and you're going, yep, this is awesome. Yeah. I like this animal. I'm shooting them.
You hit on the head a little bit too, because and I got a lot of people that don't understand where I'm coming from with the camera thing or like where I guess I'm at in hunting. And it's like the unknown excites me. And for a guy who a lot of times, I know this is kind of the opposite, I guess, preach of this podcast in particular, but like for a lot of years, I mean, inches, man. I mean, it's like, okay, like, trophy hunting. I'm looking for, passing up this deer, passing up that deer. And I always like had that in my mind. And I think it's just the way that I grew up, because seeing, like coming up surrounded by big deer and just that being a thing that I was subjected to constantly. And Dad, don't get me wrong. I mean, Dad is all about age, enjoys hunting as much as the next guy, but his personal goal for his entire life, or I mean, ever since he started killing deer, was to kill a new typical world record. And that's his goal. You know, that was his thing. And, you know, a Boone Crockett was the only thing that would really excite him. So, like, you know, coming up in that, you know, being like immersed in that, I never knew anything but that. So it immediately kind of, you know, I guess went that direction for me. And to where it's still, like, I still strive for high scoring deer for sure. I mean, it's not the only thing that matters to me, but it's definitely the chase, but it makes the chase that much harder when you start to up your bar on an inch standpoint. Depending on where you are and what you're chasing, but coming back to where it started on this, and because of that, it's like now for a while there, I mean, I've never been serious about technology and hunting. Actually, I've never been serious about technology in general. I would consider myself, up until a few years ago, like a straight up old soul, like literally living in the past, like not even wanting to acknowledge the fact that like technology and social media and all this stuff has became so big. Like, it almost kind of upset me. Like, even cell phones and the internet, and like, I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here, but like, it's just, it's kind of the way I was, and I've adapted more to it now, but I always was like, you know, I just thought it was better back then. Like, oh man, when you know, you couldn't just pick up a phone and find out anything you wanted to know, or, you know, you couldn't just, you know, it was a different time and whatnot. But where I'm going with this is like trail cameras, and then like, okay, knowing what you have on a farm, and then like, or thinking you know what you have on a farm. Because I know trail cameras are the downfall of a lot of people. They do give people an idea. They let people take inventory. They, like, you know, give you an idea of what's there, what you want to shoot, what you want to let go, what's old, what's not. But so many people are letting these cameras, like, it's this evolution of technology has taken out what I love about hunting. When I go out there, what I am trying to do, I am trying to play the game. I'm trying to problem solve. I am trying to figure out a wild animal, and then, you know, I mean, and let the hunt begin. Not like, you know, so the introduction of all this technology, like, you know, even in trail cameras are one thing, and then like cell cameras bumps it up to a whole nother freaking ball game. It's like, now you got some piece of equipment you can go toss in the woods, or you don't even have to go look in the woods. You don't even, I mean, literally, I've hunted farms where guys had, you know, bunch of cell cameras up, and it was like nobody did anything but just wait around on the cell cameras. And that's just not how I don't know.
It's like tip up fishing from a cabin, you know, with binoculars up. Now I'll run out there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. It's like I said, I'm not bashing anybody for what they're doing. I'm just saying that's where I come about it. Or that's where I come from. So like when I did run trail cameras, or when I do run trail cameras, I'll typically run maybe 3 a year, right? And I'll set them out just to get a little bit of inventory, just to kind of see, like, you know, I want to find that deer that I'm looking to go after. And that's typically but I found in years past too, that like not getting that intel would affect how I hunt. And also getting intel would greatly affect the way I hunted. And I hunt no better, I mean, the best I hunt and I know from trial and error is when I know nothing, because then I have to go find it out. And that's where I'm coming at. And the unknown excites me. It's like, I don't know what's there, and I'm just there to find, the mission is to find out and to find a good buck. And like you said, Greg, when you see that buck and he fires you up and you have you can't reference a picture, you can't reference, you know, anything. You're seeing them, you're judging them, and you're either shooting them or you're passing them or whatever. It's a whole different experience, whole different feeling.
It's funny because up until I met Greg, I have not touched a trail cam in the woods, and it's not so purist as your approach. It's more just like, it's just another thing for me to mess with. It's like if I'm buying a car, I'd rather buy the manual windows, manual transmission, manual locks. It's less shit to go wrong. It's less for me to mess around with and putz around with and dick around with and like have a problem with. So for me, like, no trail cam sounds great because I don't got to go do weird shit in the woods. However, I will say, like, hunting with Greg and the trail cams that him and I have set up, and mostly him, it definitely gets like the excitement going once you start seeing stuff and knowing that there's some big one on, out in daylight, etc.
And it can help. Yeah, it can help too. But then also, like, I mean, it can be detrimental. Like, and guys get this prime example. Guys get a picture of this big one that showed up, and then
that's
I'm infatuated with this spot. Yeah. And then they think like, okay, I got to hunt the deer in this spot. I got the trail camera picture on this spot, or they don't get a trail camera picture. And realistically, that freaking slammer is scraping a tree right behind your freaking cell camera, and you don't know because that's all you're doing is looking at your camera. And it's just, so, I mean, and there's people I know people personally who utilize cameras, and I mean, like they do it right. They don't they use those cameras as additional tools. They take the information with a grain of salt, and they're phenomenal hunters that get it done every year. And that's the way to go about it. But the reality is not many people can, kind of hold that. It's hard to not do. And because I do it. When I run cameras, I start to think about shit differently.
Oh, dude, it's like Frodo put on the fucking ring, It's like you put on the ring and it's like, oh man, that power, like. Yeah. Hey, we do have a caller. I think they have a question. Hey, Anthony, you're live on the podcast with Cody D'Acquisto, me, and Greg. Sounds like you got a question about scouting for Cody. What's up?
Yeah, hey guys. Thanks for turning me on here, I guess, in a non-sexual way.
Oh boy.
But yeah, no, this is fantastic. This is going great right now. Sorry. So Cody, you mentioned earlier you like when you go to a property, the only time you're there is when you're hunting there, right?
Yep.
But there's got to be some kind of like setup time or years where you've worked on it and kind of figured it out. And then after that, it sounds like for a lot of people that I talk to, they spend a few years working on it, scouting it, figuring out, and then after that, they just never go in until they're ready to hunt. Are you that same way, or do you literally just like kind of go in blind all the time?
Yep, no, I'm not that way at all. So I mean, no, don't get me wrong. This particular property, like I said, I did know from hunting it for years. So like that's that case with that property, but that's not the case with any. Like if you were to invite me over to your farm and we were to go hunt, or let's say it's July, and you're like, hey, you want to come hunt with me in September? Okay. And hey, you want to come trim lanes in July and run some cameras? And I'd say no. I'll see you. When is the season open? September 15th. Okay, I will see you September 14th, and I'm ready to hunt the 15th. Like that. That's just how. That's how I do it. I actually prefer not knowing the property. Kinda. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll look if I'm researching a property specifically. I'll do a little bit of, or I'll do some. Obviously, look at an area. I'll look at the area to make sure I want to hunt that piece. But like if it's something that somebody's gonna invite me to, or like somebody gives me a good lead and I know there's a good buck there, like no, I'm going in when I can hunt, because I like to go in blind and just figure the stuff out, because the stuff changes all the time. Now you will find out I do find out there's always good spots that are always going to be good spots, right? But those are few and far between. And you can actually burn those out too. So if you have the mentality of just constantly figuring out what is going on, what the deer are doing at all times of year, you're never going to lose, because you're not getting married to one spot. You're not overthinking things, and it's natural, man. You start moving and you start, getting after it.
Sure. Okay, cool. No, that was my question, man. I feel like a lot of people spend a few years prepping, and then after they figure it out, that's when they really get in trouble with those trail cameras, right? And they're like, I just want to know. I just want to know. It's like, well, you already know. Just stay out.
Exactly. Yep. And that's the thing too. I mean, the trail cameras, I think, get a little bit more popular with people who have ground, have leases, hunt them for a few years. They're trying to more so raise deer, or or manage deer for them to get bigger and older. And so that can definitely become more of a thing with those type of properties. But now that trail cameras are so readily available and they're so easy to get, and now there's cell plans for so cheap, and there's linking cameras, and there's cameras that freaking, I mean, just got a magic wand in them and have fairy dust. Like there's cameras for everything, right? And you can get them anywhere.
Right,
Now, I mean, it's the same thing with public pieces and whatnot, and it's just, and they can be a good tool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you're going to hunt a couple thousand acres of public ground and you got 10 cameras and you're going to go hang those 10 cameras on one side and then hunt the other side. And I mean, yeah, there's definitely awesome strategic ways to use cameras for sure. That can help you out.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well,
Thanks,
that's my
Anthony.
question. I don't want to take up too much of everyone else's time.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Have a good night,
Crushing
bud.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Greg.
You got it, bud.
Hey, buddy.
So there's a couple other comments that came through that had some questions. I'll ask them quick. We'll just burn through them faster, I think. One of our friends, Jeff, asked about using like a tent to set up. He called it a cargo tent, I believe. He said he may have saw something on like your Instagram where you were using something like that. Do you have any opinions or advice about that?
A tent? Like for sleeping, you mean?
Small cargo trail to camp out of. Headed, yeah.
Oh, the trailer?
There you go. That's it.
Yeah, my trailer?
Yep.
No, yeah. So I, back when I was like 16, I took it's like a 12-foot square front, like just a cargo trailer. Yeah, it looks like a piece of shit from the outside, which is intended. And I just redid the inside. Like I built like a little kitchen up front, and I got, a nice cot in there with a good sleeping bag, and I got a little heater. And I got it rigged up to where I can snag a 110 plug anywhere, and I can just run the whole thing. Like I could park that thing in a Casey's and just creep on their power or something. And that's what I kind of did when I was traveling around earlier on. I used to stay in a tent a little bit too, but this thing was just so awesome because it was like, I mean, it's just nice. I mean, I didn't do anything extremely crazy to it, but I do still take that on my out-of-state hunts. I don't like to have to pay for hotels. I don't want to get bed bugs like Greg did. I mean, I don't want to get in those. I don't want to get in those positions. So it's nice that I take that. I just drop it wherever I'm going on property. I used to take it to Kansas. I've taken it to Missouri. Take it to Illinois. It's just cool. So like that. I mean, Taylor advantage for something like that too. You can just literally park it right at whatever piece of ground you're hunting, or you can even keep it hooked up to your vehicle and just fucking pop back there and crash, So
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's a good tactical advantage, I think.
One of our listeners, so I'll ask one more and we'll move on a little bit. One of our listeners, Jack, asked if there's anything in particular you're looking at going in blind on an aerial map. Are you trying to hone in on bedding, food, water? What's catching your eye?
Aerial map. So if I was looking at a new piece, I would probably look at where I thought. It depends if my first hit was going to be an evening or a morning. I would definitely want to get somewhere to where I would be hunting over somewhere I think they were eating, or in the evening I would typically just go in, not look at anything per se. I might have a few inklings in my mind about it. It really all depends on the piece of ground. If it's solid timber, if it's ag country, if it's hedgerows, it would all change. But on an evening, I would typically kind of just ease my way in and set up at the first spot that I thought looked good. On a morning, I would try and focus a little bit more on where I thought bedding would be. And sometimes you can be completely wrong when you think about that. But that's what's nice about having a nice mobile setup and just being able to move. You can just pop down and move to a new spot late morning. So it's tough because it just changes so often.
So if you have a true mobile system, then that's a great way to approach. If you have a
Then
mobile setup like my dumbass, then good luck clanking your ass down the tree.
Yeah.
Although Greg's made my life a little bit better, I must say. Anyway, so Anthony's call came in, and then two more questions. I don't remember specifically where we had left off, and I apologize. I don't know if either of you had a mind bookmark for that.
Let's see. We were talking about. Did a lot of trail camera talk.
That's right.
I know you mentioned. I was trying to think. You asked me a couple questions early off, and I couldn't remember what they were. But flannel. You mentioned something about that. Or camel versus.
I just like it, man. I just like it.
A yellow jumpsuit.
So my first ever podcast was in like 2013 or 14 with Jared Scheffler, and he had said on that podcast, and I was so fucking nervous, man. I was so nervous, and he's like, I used to care so much about the right camouflage, the tree stand, the camera, everything would be just perfect, the spot, blah, and I'd sit and I'd wait and nothing would happen, right? And then one day my freaking car broke down. I stopped on the side road to fix it. It wasn't going well. Shit wasn't getting fixed. He said, F it. I'm grabbing my bow. I smelled like gasoline and oil. I was wearing jeans and like a white t-shirt or something like that. I can go back and listen to the episode. And he went in the woods, and he didn't seal the deal on that hunt, but he had an opportunity at like one of the biggest bucks at that point in time they'd ever seen. And he's like, it was at that moment when I realized you don't have to have this fancy truck, all this gear, all this stuff. You just got to go make it happen. And that was like, what a great first episode, right? Because this is like episode 156 or something, or 157. So we've come quite a ways since then. And, you are out there proving that that's not what you need. I like that you're doing it through your actions.
Yeah. And what he said is on point, man. I mean, if you have it's just like you look at success stories, man, and just people who, might have been dealt a bad rap. Like, dude, if you got the drive, you're going to get it done, man. You don't need to go spend a bunch of stuff. You don't need to do all that. But, specifically for me, with on the camel front, it's just like, I used to wear a lot of camo too. And and then now coming up, I always did a mixture of, cause I've always wore just kind of shitty clothes, actually. Not necessarily shitty, but just dated old stuff, stuff that I'd swipe from the old man, coming up over the years, and like just old, like solid wool, and like, some layering vests, and a lot of wool actually, but heavy cotton. And then I'd usually mix that with some camo. And then I got into this point of time where, like, now hats off to camo companies, because like what they've done and the money that they're making, oh my God. Like it is just, that's a feat in themselves. But as far as needing that stuff for in the timber, like I firmly believe you are actually at a disadvantage with that shit on sometimes. It is so complex and so like so many contrasting colors that like you back up, and a lot of times like you look like solid black up there. And depending on where you're at and what you're wearing, there's so many different kinds, but I came to the realization too that it's all a money making scheme. It really is. There's, to blend in, you do not need an expensive pattern of clothing. What I found too is like, I would like some of the best clothes that I've used to wear hunting over years and years and years were like just good clothes, like Carhartt. I hunted out of Carhartt bibs, the solid brown bibs the same bibs that I worked on a forklift dock on in the winter, and like I hunted out of those same bibs, and they were warm as shit, and that's why I hunted out of them.
That's great.
And it was those bibs and like an arborist green, like heavyweight hoodie, and that was like 6 straight years of just annihilating whitetails and just bibs and a hoodie, no camo whatsoever. So I always knew, I didn't need camo, and then I just gravitated. And then one year I was just like, I'm not messing with this. There's so much drama. I think I did a catalog shot, and I threw some real tree on, and I had, you get these, and then, oh, what about this? Like, I thought you work with Moss Yoke, and like, it's like, dude, I don't know. It's just, I'm done with, I'm over the politics. I'm over the patterns, the brands. I wear clothes that I like, that are comfortable, that I think look good in the timber. And, I wear a lot of flannel.
It's comfortable, man. You got to be comfortable. Like, comfortable, like, breeds a lot of confidence, to be quite honest. If you're not comfortable in something, it's a freaking problem, for starters. I will say that the warming layers are important. Greg, I still haven't pulled the trigger financially on the merino wool. It's going to happen, I think, just because I'm still wearing Wally brand shit, dude. I still have Walmart camouflage, like, jean pants. I still have Walmart, like, long johns, and I'm not actually ponying up for anything legitimate from that standpoint. And I think beyond that, I really don't care. I have like some Fleet Farm generic branded, jacket or whatever, but
doesn't matter.
I mean,
you're getting out.
If you're, you can. I mean, you don't need to have shit. If you're getting out there and working for it, I mean, that's what's going to make the difference. I mean, as soon as I ditched the Carhartt bib because I didn't like the whole bib anymore, it was just too big and bulky. I went to insulated Wrangler jeans, and I was
smart.
literally
Those are so
hunting in
comfortable.
insulated Wrangler jeans for the next 5 years. Like, and it's just, and then that's when I got real jacked. They came out with those Wrangler jeans in camo. And then I was like, oh shit, these are my favorite jeans. And these are literally like denim jeans.
Yeah. And they're like, flannel on the inside, right?
What's that?
I remember like there's jeans that have like actual flannel on the inside. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what these were. Now they discontinued them.
These were.
They used to, I haven't seen them in
used to
years. What the fuck? We gotta like lobby together, you guys. We gotta figure this out.
I just gave 2 pairs away to my godson. I had 2 pairs. They weren't quite worn out yet, but
Lucky
it's like,
boy.
well, he needed something warm, and I hooked him up with 2 pairs of Wrangler jeans that had the flannel lining in them.
Yeah, those are nice too, because that denim blocks that jean material, canvas, whatever the hell you want to call it, is a good wind blocker, and then you got that warmth inside. They were awesome for years. I hung around those, and it's just. And now I will say this though, man, what I can't do without nowadays, this damn flex they're putting in clothing. So,
that's the best.
I don't care if you ain't accepting it, you're living in the past because, like, dude, the mobility you got with this shit is just it's
Dude,
beyond,
I've ripped so many pants in the crotch
serious.
from mostly stepping over baby gates in my house, but like the occasional trying to reach out without a cableator, like it's a problem.
Yeah, it's good shit.
That's funny, man. Well, dude, tell us if you want to, like, if you thought about it, if we planted the seed and it's grown, like, I would love, like, you specifically, your most memorable hunt. I'm real curious to hear that story. And the way this works, by the way, we don't say a word, so we're here, but we're just tuning into your story, because what we'll do with this is we put into our most memorable hunts, which we'll film score to make it sound real beautiful and everything. So you just tell your story, man. We'll bring it to life later.
Oh, this is a tough one, man. I have to say, man, I got a lot of memorable hunts, like very memorable, but I can't overlook the first whitetail harvest just because of the fact that I think that is what turned me on to this, the thrill of the chase and just this passion. So it would have to be my first ever hunt. Or not first ever hunt, first ever, I guess, harvest of a, whitetail buck. And, and how, I guess, am I supposed to get like in depth with the story or just give you like a brief overview?
Well, however you want to do it, man. You can go as in details you'd like.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess just to make to kind of summarize, I mean, it was just young kid getting into it, was more so, I mean, I think there's a fine line at that time, whether you really push a kid to work hard or just get him that experience to like kind of, I guess, push him off into that passion for the rest of his life. But I remember specifically grinding it out, and it was cold and the deer weren't moving. I think this was like maybe December, and I hadn't had time to hunt with school or whatever. So like, we got pushed in there to late season, right? So there wasn't any crazy run activity going on. Like a lot of the bigger bucks were kind of, at bay or whatever. But I remember, and I can't remember how the duration of this hunt or this trek or this quest could have been maybe like 4 or 5 days, and then this had been maybe like the fourth 4 or 5 day trip. And I'm just like, as like a 14, 15-year-old kid, I'm just like, oh man, I'm freaking like, what the hell? Where the hell are the deer, man? This sucks. Like this is a grind. This is a pain in the ass. Like I'm cold. I'm done with this. And I remember thinking that. And I remember Dad we just kept going out, kept grabbing my ass out of bed, kept dragging me out there, kept, just to put me in there and put me in the experience. And when it all finally came together, and I mean, there was there was some good experiences, some bad. You get your hopes up, and then you get let down, and then you even hate it more. You're like, God, you know what? I'm done with this. And when it all came together, man, I remember it's a moment that I'll never forget. And we were sitting on a hardwood ridge, and he was right over my shoulder. He was filming, and and the sun was, it was just a crystal clear morning. Cold. And the sun was breaking through them hardwoods, and there must have been a doe that came in late or something. And this doe popped up out of nowhere from down the bottom and comes just kind of jetting up this ridge. And I'm thinking like, oh man, where the hell is she going? What the hell scared her? And then I can just, I can hear Dad over my shoulder, kind of notifying me. And I'm looking down and I see this buck just on her coming up from the bottom, and he's coming right up this trail. And literally, like, the sun's coming through the trees. He's coming up. He's coming right down this trail, and I come to full draw, and he almost and I shot him right on the walk at like 12 yards, and he mule kicks, and just seeing that air. I remember that deer mule kicking, and me literally seeing blood expel from him like instantly. Like it was a liver shot, and just the overall feeling, knowing that I finally got it done, and like in that split second, the entire grind was worth it. It was like, and then, that sealed the deal for me, man. And just, being there, just the old man right there, and just first deer. It was really cool, man. That was probably my most memorable hunt.
That's like everything a memorable hunt is filled with, man. You got all the elements there. Having your dad there with you, and having that feeling of getting it done, him reading the script. The whole nine. Even the way you described the scene on the ridge and the sunlight coming through, beautiful.
And I think too, it's one of those things where like that's the only hunt or the only kill I've ever had with like actually being in the stand with somebody. It's the only one. And it was the first one, and then right after that, I was just kind of ready to. I was like, no, I know what I got to do, and let me kick off. But so I think that'll hold a special spot there for. You can't forget the one that gets you hooked. It's just.
No, you can't forget the first one, right? That's like a thing with all sorts of things in life. First car, first, and like, whatever, all that stuff. Mine was a shotgun to the neck on a spike buck, and it was, it was like, I remember it very vividly. My dad was there. He was getting down for lunch, and so was I. And then the deer decided to come around the same ridge I was trying to leave out of, and I was like, wait a second, that's not how it's supposed to go. I guess I'll shoot you. Like it was great.
Boom. Yeah.
Close shot with a freaking slug, man. It was wow. You see a deer do a couple rolls. That's one way to get him to roll over.
The next shots are lethal, man.
It was it was not on purpose. It was just me not being a great marksman at that age. Dan asked a question in the comments. He said, you and your dad always kill the best deer early season. He's asking, are those deer still in their summer patterns?
Yeah. And like, to the point where I don't know if necessarily, like I said, cause I typically just kind of go in there. I don't know if they've been doing that for any sort of amount of time. I just kind of start to creep in and find out what's going on, what they're, what's going on at that. So it depends on where you're hunting too. So I think like, on a September opener, you're going to find a lot more deer, a lot more bucks doing what they've been doing in late August, maybe into early September. I know that. So for instance, this year, right. Like even in like Iowa now, when Iowa open, like we've had some unseasonably cold temps, and there wasn't a leaf on the beans on October 1st. They're just, it depends, man. You got to roll with the punches. I've also hunted. So where I was hunting this past weekend, where I killed that buck, it got down to 35 in the morning, and it was like high of 45, like just prime conditions. And in years past, I've hunted there into October 25th, and it's been 90 degrees with 90% humidity sometimes, So, it literally always changes, like, and depending on, a couple of years ago, I actually, I hit a big one in the leg. It was just a major screw up. And that was actually, we had snow that stuck on October 8th. It was like, you know, I mean, it was like Santa Claus came, man. It was like the best gift in the world. And it just got them bucks fired up. And so it just changes. It's just tough, man. You just got to get out there, find out where, don't get caught up on summer patterns, winter patterns. If you know a deer hits a food source in winter, like, but the signs telling you he's hitting it now, and it's summer, like don't let it affect what you're doing. Just look at what's going on, hunt there. Don't think about the past. Don't think about summer. Don't think about seasons. Don't do anything. Just take every situation for what it is.
Yeah, you were on our tactic talk a couple weeks ago, and you talked about, like, look, just don't overthink stuff, man. I mean, that seems to be kind of your approach to stuff. I like it. You seem to be really good at living in the present with what you're doing and taking the intel at hand and making some decisions with it. You mentioned, like, you like to go out there and do the problem solving yourself and not let you actually said trail cam, and you said it in such a way it rolled off the tongue. It sounded like you said betrayal cam. I feel like that should be a hashtag. Don't let the betrayal cam get you, you know, like, seriously.
That's good. I like that.
It's a cool approach. Yeah. And Greg and I, we're trying to, I'm following his lead by and large, but, you know, I have a lot of knowledge up here that I'm trying to put into practice that I haven't, like, deployed yet. So, you know, the real learning comes when you do those things in the field and you see what the hell happens. And I've been doing that.
Oh, dude, that.
It's fun, man. Yep. It's fun when the light bulbs start to turn on. And Greg and I, the two of us, I think, like, I don't know, Greg, we're getting there, man. I'm really excited and enthused. I've said, you know, for the last 6-9 months.
It sure does not feel like we're getting anywhere.
Yeah, no, but it does, because we're learning so much practical knowledge by doing it, and it's really, it's like the most exciting season, man. From that perspective alone, I could see nothing, but I know that I'm trying really freaking hard. So, and trying to try smartly.
Man. Every season, every sit, every deer, every situation, like, it just gets stored in the bank. I mean, and the people who are really successful, I think, are the people with a drive to do better, and the people who have experienced a shit ton of stuff. I mean, like, you know, I can just think about, like, so many, you know, even my close quarter hunting. Like, so I'm obsessed with getting as close as I possibly can to these deer. Like, just like the intimacy factor. Like, I mean, like, dude, nothing is a better feeling than having a deer come in of that, like, whatever caliber you're looking for, whatever freaking shakes you up, having a deer that big at eye level, like 8 to 10 yards away and even closer. Like, dude, you are, once you've experienced that and you've literally pulled the wool over his eyes, and you, like, there's no going back. I firmly believe that.
That's like, so there's, oh, go ahead, dude. I'm so good at interrupting. My bad.
Keep going.
There's this term. So I went to college later in life. I was 25, went back to school, and I went to, like, a local community college. But I took, like, some philosophy courses, and this isn't too far off the beaten path here of our conversation, but there's a term that I learned called eudaimonia. And I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's about, like, when you get so good at something, it's like breathing. And I think the example they compared to in school was like a carpenter. When you just know your craft so well, it's like the most fulfilling, intrinsically rewarding thing you can do. And there's a couple hunters, man, that you can tell that's their shit. That's what they do. They have eudaimonia, right? It's like a thing you try to aspire to get by getting really good at something.
That's pretty cool.
It's cool, man. And it sounds like that's a little bit of what you have going on here, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just one of those things where, like, I've always said, like, you know, when talking to people, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just persistent, man. I mean, but I'm also constantly picking things apart, and I have a process, I have a system, but when you've done it enough and you get into it and you know what you want and you're confident about it, like, when I go in half the times, like, I know it's over. And that's a big thing, and I don't think people can realize that. But to have that, you got to know, and you got to know, you know. And when you do, I mean, there's nothing that stops you at that point.
So that's cool, because I know that I'm not to the point where I would know that I know. And I might be in it, and I wouldn't know that.
Weird,
so, like,
but it is a thing, you know? I mean,
That's why I know I have a long way to go. I have a lot of self-awareness. I know that I am not where I want to be by any stretch. But that's what keeps me going.
We have what's called...
Go ahead, Greg.
No, never mind. It was a funny thing I was going to say, but go ahead. You're on a roll.
Oh, no, I had nothing. I was just trying to drink some scotch.
Yeah.
Well, he's got eudaimonia. We've got diarrhea. So
yeah,
we're going to keep working.
It's good. It's good. Well, dude, thanks for being on the show, man. I don't know. Let's obviously people that are tuning into this podcast, have a good clue and good concept of where they need to be going. But do we have to tell people where should they get in touch? How do they find you? Where do they go to buy your gear, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So if you want to look at anything that Lone Wolf Custom Gear has to offer, go to the website, www.lonewolfcustomgear.com. You can look at all the products. We have videos on there. You can also check them out on their Instagram, Lone Wolf Custom Gear, and Facebook. We like to post, a lot of product stuff orientated there as well. On another aspect, if you want a little bit more detailed look at how, I utilize the products, what I use, you can check out my personal Instagram. It's just Cody _D'Acquisto. What I started doing this year, I got a lot of requests from people over the years, and they really wanted to see kind of more real-time, live, in season type, my decision-making processes, my hunts, whatever. So I got kind of, and I'm not a videographer by any means. I'm just a dude that likes to hunt. So I got a camera, and I've just been trying to take it everywhere and document this stuff. So in the first hunt, I did my best those 3 days. I pounded it, and I filmed a lot. So if you want to follow along, get some tips, just see what the hell's going on, you can find it there on my stories. And come follow.
Cool, dude. Bonus question: how much are you bench pressing?
How much? Man, in my day, I haven't. It's been so long since I've maxed on a bench press, but bench was probably my strongest point, and I hit 405 when I was at my strongest, and I was weighing 215 at the time though, so I was heavy. Right now, I could probably put up maybe 375, but I'm only weighing about 180.
That's impressive, man. That's impressive. I love the bench press. I love it. But
it's a good exercise.
It's ebbs and flows, man. I go into I'm a freaking beast, and then I get all motivated, and then up comes a plate of nachos and a Packer game, and then 6 months later I'm all chubby again. So it just goes back and forth, man. The pendulum swings.
Dude, it's a grind.
Yeah, the consistency with the gym. The hardest part is just just showing up, and if you can get your ass to the gym, then you're there. You might as well do something with it, right? That's kind of how I see it, anyway.
Yeah. It's persistence with that, man. Persistence over time equals success.
I love it. So that's great, dude. Because that's my God. I got posts about that shit. Consistency. I say consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates opportunity, and it's a circle that goes and feeds itself, right? Just don't know what those opportunities are going to be, but that's great, man. Wow. How about that? Little life philosophies there. Well, cool. Hey, we're going to end the live broadcast. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Those that commented and called, etc. We appreciate it a whole bunch. Leave us a review, a rating, all that good stuff. Go check out lonewolfcustomgear.com. I'm sure there's something you can get yourself into there, even if it's just the you guys got that tape too, right?
Yeah. That's good stuff. Silent touch tape.
That's what thank you. I'm shit, get to the website, Eric, find the tape name. Thank you for bailing me out. All right, cool. Everybody have a great night, and we'll get this thing produced and into podcast land soon.
Thanks, guys.